Good morning, my lovelies. How are you? I'm doing wonderful. Anytime I'm here, anytime I want to discuss an Evil Lives Here or Get Ready With Me or my future cult series that I'm going to be working on, I am always extremely happy to be here talking to you. And I thank you for clicking on this and watching as well. So, ignore the lighting. I think I've got it set pretty good, but we are gloomy as hell outside. It's supposed to rain. We need rain. It's so funny I say that because a couple weeks ago we got rain nonstop, and I mean heavy rain to the point that we found a leak in our house we didn't know existed, and it was not fun. But then for the next 2 weeks it's been 90 to 100 degrees. There's been no rain. It's been just hot. My grass is brown. So we need the rain, even though, you know, it kind of ruins any plans for pool days, but that's okay. We can adjust. So, anyways, I am excited to be back to do the Evil Live Here. I hope you watched my last upload, which was a Get Ready With Me, and the one before that was an Evil Lives Here. So we are doing the ID channel's Evil Lives Here. I'm sure if you've been watching, you know this. But we are on Season 2, Episode 10, which is the season finale for Season 2. So that's awesome. So next week's will be the start of Season 3. Yay! And it's funny because I was telling my daughter, I've got a long way to go with this series because today starts the new season of Evil Lives Here on the ID channel. And I believe it's like Season 12. And I am just finishing Season 2 and starting Season 3. So we'll be here for a while. As long as you guys keep watching and liking this, I'll keep doing it. So this episode, I don't want to call any of these stories normal because they're not. I mean, there's a reason why they're on here. There's tragedy no matter what. But thankfully, this episode didn't completely shock my socks off. And I wasn't... Last week, if you didn't watch it, you need to go check it. It was so different, so weird, so unexpected. Like, we didn't have that this episode. So, and it's kind of like being a season finale. I kind of thought we would get more of that, but we didn't, and that's okay. So, we're good to go. I do want to give a trigger warning. There is abuse, and I'm talking spousal and child abuse in this episode. There's mental and physical abuse as well, which I think anytime you talk any kind of abuse, it's going to be mental and physical, because even if all they're doing is hitting you, that's not all they're doing. So, mental and physical abuse. The man in question is not a good guy. So, we'll just put that all out there. And we can get started. Yeah. Well, I was thinking I needed to do something. I do. I need to put some stickers under my eyes because I'm doing a dark look. I'm not real confident with this look, so if I end up taking it off and going with something else, you'll know why. But for now, we're going to start with this. As always, my makeup roulette picked my stuff, so the palette I'm going to use, I have not used, and I can't even remember, and I don't even know if the colors are still good. That could be the problem. Anyway, so if you like this video, please share. Make sure you follow and hit that subscribe button for me. So give me a second. I'm going to put my guides on for under my eye, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I look a little funny, and I absolutely hate using these, so I don't know how long I'll keep them on. I hope I got them even. But let's start the story and do the makeup. And it hurts to look down. So we start this episode by hearing from Lindsay. She's going to be the narrator, and she was a kid when these events happened. So I want to make sure I mention that. I'm not sure how long this terror that she went through lasted, but I know she was 14 when the final incident occurred, and I know that was in the 1990s sometime. So next we learn that, and they were really, and I mean they being Evil Lives Here and ID channel, they were very nice in giving us some information up front. And this time the information they gave us says that Matthew, Eric Wrinkles, is her father. And he goes by Eric, so that's what I will call him in this episode. And we find out that he was executed by lethal ejection in December 2009, and they were in Indiana. So as you know what I'm going to say, if you've been watching me, that's a lot of information that we don't typically get in these shows. So I'm quite impressed that they started off with that information. So Lindsay has a brother named Seth, and he's younger, and he is always blurred out when video footage or pictures are shown. So apparently he did not want to be part of this story. So yeah, I don't know how much younger he is. I can tell I do actually. I find out at the end, and we'll talk about it then. But he is younger in when all this goes down. I'm going to try to respect his privacy, but when I looked into his story, it's pretty good. I won't say good. He's got a tragic story. So we'll talk about it at the end. But for this episode, he is only mentioned in passing. So we won't be talking a lot about him. He's got some story. He's got a story in here, or not him, but his sister tells a story in here. So whatever. But Lindsay is who we hear from, and we hear from her pretty much the whole time. We don't hear from anybody else, and she's telling us that she doesn't like to talk about it, and that she doesn't talk about it often. And the reason is, she said it was a horrible thing that they lived through, and she is embarrassed by it. She's embarrassed to say this is her father, and she doesn't want people to know her story. But if you're embarrassed and ashamed, why do you go on national television to do this series? And that's not a judgment, that's a legit question. So I don't know what changed in her life that she decided it was time to talk about what happened to her. But at some point it did, because, she's been ashamed and embarrassed all these years and didn't want people to know what she went through. Then something changed her mind. She said that when her father was caught and given the death penalty, and she understood and felt that he deserved what he got for what he did. So, that's interesting. Sometimes they don't understand, sometimes they don't agree, but in this case, she agrees. So, I'll leave that up to you if you think it's good or bad. But in her case, yes, she is okay with him having the death penalty. So, she tells us that growing up, her father had a nasty sense of humor, is what she said. And he had a nasty sense of humor sometimes, and she knew there was something wrong with him. So she tells this story. She had this bunny, and it was this little white, they showed a little white bunny. I don't know if it was white or not, but the reenactment showed this little white, pretty bunny. I love bunnies. And she said it was her pet, and it was the best pet. She said you put him on your lap, and he would stay there, and you could pet and play, whatever. But her father would come around and make comments like, I wonder how that bunny tastes. Oh, I know what's for supper tonight. Things like that as a young girl would completely upset her, right? She hated it. Her mom always told her, oh, he's just joking. He's just playing around. She never thought it was funny. Which, yeah, I can see that. So she says one day, he was a hunter. He was an avid hunter, so he liked guns and, did his thing. And one day he went hunting. He came back and he called for her and told her to come outside to see what he got for her. So she goes running out to find that he had been rabbit hunting. And he chopped their heads off and put them on a pike and stuck them in the middle of the yard for her to see. And when she was upset about it, her dad's like, oh, you don't have a sense of humor, you need to toughen up, and it's just a joke. I'm just going to say, only a psychopath would find that funny. I mean, I don't find it funny. I hope. Anyways. So then that's just the kind of things he did to her. And I'm sure he did the same to Seth. Nothing was mentioned on that. Like I said, we get very little of his story. But Lindsay says her mom and dad fought all the time. And my daughter was watching it with me, and we were all watching this, and we're like, it sounds like and it looks like from the reenactment that Mama hit Dad just as much as Dad hit Mom. And Lindsay confirms and says that her mom was also abusive. However, I will say she never says her mom hit her, just her father. Not that I want to say that is okay, but it is a clarification I want to make, because the story being about child abuse is about the father, not the mother. But the mother and dad were abusive to each other. So to me, it was just like, okay, this is what it looks like. And I'm going to quote Lindsay. She said they were two bombs ready to go off anytime they were near each other, end quote. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a pleasant atmosphere for two young kids. And Lindsay said it only got worse when her dad decided to take it up a level, I guess you can say. He said they started out fighting, and they would be in like their bedroom or something. She said her and her brother could hear it, but it wasn't in front of them, right? She said, well, then eventually that wasn't good enough, and her dad, Eric, wanted an audience. So he would proceed to call the kids down and have them sit in the living room, and he would beat the mother in front of the kids. Well, of course, the mom was probably hitting too. I'm not going to say she wasn't, but he wanted an audience, so he started bringing the kids around so they can watch what was going on. And yeah, I couldn't even imagine. So then, then the fights started. They weren't just in the nighttime; they were in the middle of the day. And so, of course, knowing where the story's going, Eric couldn't leave it at that. He had an audience. He wanted to be, this awesome show for the kids of him beating his wife and whatever. And again, I'm going to state that she also hit him, just because I want to be fair about that. That does come up later. But then he started, he couldn't just leave it at that, and he started pulling guns on his wife. His wife's name's Debbie. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. He started pulling weapons on Debbie, then he started abusing the kids. So, good times, right? But Lindsay never stated that Eric hit her, but she does tell us a story where he beats Seth, and he beats him pretty good with the belt. And I can't shut my eye to do this. I'm going to be right back. Okay, so I just took the thing off my eyes because it was actually hurting. So, yeah, he started abusing Seth. There was a story there where Seth didn't clean up his room, and Eric accused him of lying to him because apparently Seth told him, yes, I cleaned my room, but instead he was in there playing with some cars, and Eric beat him pretty darn good with the belt, apparently, and threatened Lindsay when she kind of stepped into the room. I don't know if her thought was to stop it or what. I don't know, but she stepped into the room, and he, do you want some of this type of thing? So, yeah, not good. And he was really, really into threatening Debbie with his guns. And it was not his guns, but he also used knives to threaten her. And he threatened to shoot Debbie in front of the kids. So it had to have been a torturous life that they led. And Lindsay said she was scared all the time. And okay, so her dad's philosophy was that you don't call the cops ever on family, or do you get your other family involved with your problems. So she said that she never called the cops. She never questioned it. That was just how they were raised. You didn't, and I absolutely hate that. I hate that they never tried to get help, but that was what he raised them, that you don't ever get the cops or other family involved in what's going on in the house. So they didn't. So Lindsay says, she tells us a story of coming home one day. She was spending the night with a friend, and it's, my daughter probably she looked at me at this time. She said, they probably spent the night with a lot of friends trying to stay out of that house. And she's probably right. I can't imagine they wanted to stay there and witness any of this. So they probably stayed out as much as possible. But she come home one day and their house was completely destroyed. So Eric had just destroyed the house, including Lindsay's room. And she didn't know why, but, you know, she didn't know what was going on. She wasn't home. So as she's in her room kind of picking up some clothes, Eric comes in and shows her this pocket knife he's holding. And he says, "Do you know what this is?" And of course she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he says, "Your mom hid this in your closet. She plans on killing me with it." And, you know, then he's showing it to her kind of in a very threatening way. And, then he tells Lindsay, "Clean up the room." And she tells him, no, she didn't make the mess. So at this point, which is kind of brazen in my opinion, because you know him's crazy. You know the dude is crazy. But at this point, she's apparently just had enough. And she's like, "No, I'm not cleaning this up." And he pulled the knife, put it at her throat. She thought he was going to kill her. And he told her, started saying things like, "You're just like your mother. You're just like your mother." And, you know, excuse me, "Just like your mother, I should kill you now, whatever." And accused her of plotting with her mother and hiding the knife to kill him. And just really losing his mind. He's accusing her of all this stuff. And Lindsay said she was terrified because she had seen how, you know, her mom and dad reacted to each other and how much they hated each other. And she's like, does he now hate me? If he thinks I am just like my mother, then he's going to hate me too, right? So she was really scared. She was just not sure of what to do or how to do it or whatever. But this was the first time she actually did ask for help. So after he did that, she finally, I guess, had enough and called one of her mother's friends to come pick them up and take her away from her dad. So this is part of the story where it says she's on the run. Because at that point, Mom and Seth go as well. And they do start being on the run from Eric. So they go to the friend's house. And I don't know how long they stayed on the run. It really doesn't say because they moved frequently. So every time they got a word from somebody that Eric figured out where they were at, they ran again. So they run quite a bit. I mean, and I get it. I don't know why they didn't go get police help. I don't know. You know, seriously, you get a restraining order. We all know that's just a piece of paper, and it's only as good as the person that it's served against. So you get a restraining order. I can't say he would have agreed to it. And actually, let's just go there, because here in a little bit, we're going to find she does get a restraining order, and we'll find out how good that piece of paper is for anybody, especially, yeah. We'll go. But it took her a while before she decided to get a restraining order. Basically, they just ran. They ran, and they ran. And now it gets a little confusing again because they land at Debbie's brother's house, Tony, and his wife, Natalie. And they're there, and they're being taken in, and, you know, Lindsay said that, you know, they were just terrified. They were always afraid that they would be found. And I'm not sure who kept telling. So in the story it says that friends would tell him where they were at. And I'm like, well, what kind of friend is that? Did they not know excuse me, the depths of what was going on? Did they not believe it? Did they not care? I mean, and why do you keep telling people where you're going? You're on the run with your kids. Why are you telling people? I don't get it. I don't know, but it doesn't explain. So there's got to be more to it. I just don't know what it is. So one night, Eric did find them. And this is where I'm a little confused. Because unlike the rest of the times that Eric had found them and they ran, they didn't run. So I don't know. But the night Eric found them, he took his truck, drove it in the middle of Tony's yard, and started just honking the horn. 2 a.m. It was 2 a.m. when he did it. And they said that he was just honking the horn. And they said they all looked out the window. They saw him sitting there. He was smoking. And so they knew it was him. And they knew that they had been found. And then he just decided to leave. I think Lindsay said it best. He was just there to let them know that they couldn't escape, right? That he wanted them to know that he's always going to know where they're at. So she did get a restraining order. So instead of running again, they went and got the restraining order. But not running would be the fatal mistake in this story. Okay, so now we hear that Eric was pretty much done torturing them and comes into the house. So he breaks in, he forces his way in, and he is camouflage clothing. He's got it on his makeup. I mean, he is completely decked out in camouflage. I guess he, I don't really know why. I mean, I guess he was going to run afterwards, and he did, but it never really specifies why the camouflage. But he's wearing the face paint and the clothes, and Mom, who hears it, Debbie, she confronts him at the in the hallway, in the stairs. I don't really know where, but she confronts him, and she has a gun on her. And Lindsay's like, I never knew she had a gun. Now, it's not surprising she had a gun. A couple reasons. If he is as big a hunter as, she said he was, then it makes sense that the mom has a gun as well. But also, they are on the run for their life, terrified of Eric. So, I don't know. I wasn't really shocked when I found out that she had a gun. But she confronted him, told him to leave. He didn't. She ended up shooting him. But apparently she wasn't a great shot. She grazed his arm. So she got him, which probably just made him even madder. But she didn't actually do anything that could have helped her or her kids in this situation, right? And basically after they fought, carried on, Eric shot Debbie in the stomach and did this in front of Lindsay, who was sitting there begging him not to shoot her mom, but he did. He shot and killed her. Then he ran. So Lindsay says she ran downstairs to the phone to find, she was going to call 911, and he had apparently been, planning this because he had cut the wires and there was no dial tone. So she says she turned to leave. She was going to run across the street and call at the neighbors, and she saw her Uncle Tony shot and dead in the middle of the kitchen, I think, and her Aunt Natalie was shot dead in the doorway. Apparently she answered the door, and he had shot and killed both of them. So now he's ran, and he's got 3 people he's killed at this point. So Lindsay runs to the neighbors and calls 911, and the neighbor hides her until the police get there. So that's good. But she says when she ran to the neighbors, she said Seth ran out the back door chasing the dad. And that's literally the last time he is mentioned. And I don't know, was he chasing his dad because he wanted to go with him, wanted to, pay him back for whatever? How much did he see of what his dad did? It never states. And even when I get more information on Seth, it never really states what he saw, if he saw anything, and why he chased after his dad. So to me, that's, I don't know. It's sad, right? It is just, the whole thing, everything about it is sad. So Eric was caught. I find out later where he ran to, and charged and convicted of killing his wife and his brother and sister-in-law. And as it is to be said, he blamed Lindsay for his death penalty sentence because it was her testimony that gave him the death penalty, according to him. Not what he did, but what she had the nerve to tell the court, right? I don't get it. Am I supposed to get it? Maybe not. Maybe that's a good thing I don't get it. So, he's even made the comment that he was sorry he killed Debbie, but he wasn't sorry that he killed Tony and Natalie because they manipulated the situation, in his words. So basically, back to, you don't get other family involved in family disputes, right? So because Debbie involved her brother, he had to die, and he manipulated the whole situation by being involved. I don't. Dude is, well, you know, he's a psychopath. So anyways, Lindsay says that she didn't have much of a relationship with her father after he went to jail. Said, I get that. I mean, he's in jail for killing your mother and all the abuse he put you and your brother through. It would take a lot better person than me to keep a relationship with him. So, she said through the years, she never kept contact with him, right? He was arrested in 1994. And, that's when she was 14. So, he was executed in 2009. So she never had contact with him until 2009 when she decided to go talk to him before his execution. She wanted to get some peace. She wanted to maybe get some answers, I don't know what her thought process was. I mean, she tells us a little bit more, but, you know, she went to try to, you know, talk to him before he was executed. And she said she went even though she was terrified. So, never thought about this before, but obviously, you know, you have these visits, and in a lot of ways, it's just you and him, especially on a death row. Because, okay, so I didn't mention, but I should. The day she went to saw him was the day he was executed. So she waited until the day he was being executed to decide that she needed to go see him and try to understand, I guess, get some answers, whatever. She said she was terrified because if he could decide to kill her. I mean, at this point, he's already blamed her for having the death penalty, right? And she's going into his lair. He has nothing to lose. Like, if he did anything to her, what are they going to do? He's on death row. He is being executed that night. I think it showed video of their, I guess, reunion of them talking. It was, Seth did go, so he was in it, but he was, of course, blurred out. So I never saw a picture of Seth until I looked in the internet and did some research. But the whole Evil Lives Here did a really good job of keeping him completely out of it. But so they both went, and there's actual video of her with her dad and Seth. But she said she was really concerned. I mean, he could kill her. He could snap her neck before anybody actually got in there and stopped him. So she went being actually terrified because the last time she saw him, he accused her of being the reason he got death penalty. He probably accused her of being the reason why, you know, he was caught because she called 911, but she specifically said in the story he accused her of getting the death penalty because of her testimony. And I never really know what all went on in that testimony, because in everything I read before and through and after, it literally just kind of glossed right over the whole courtroom battle, drama, whatever. So she said she didn't want, one of the reasons she went, and I've got hair flying everywhere, she didn't want to have regrets of not saying what needed to be said or asking what she needed to know from her father. So she needed to go for her own peace of mind. And I do get that. I cannot even imagine how difficult it would have been, but it was. And honestly, we see actual video, like I said, of her in there with Eric, and she's very visibly upset. You can see through it all, and Eric is talking, he's telling them, and he's doing it on camera too, so I don't know if he's playing up for it or if he truly meant it. But he's telling her, you know, how sorry he is for what he put them through growing up and everything. So she says she talked to him. She, I guess, got her answers and questions, and she never really states that, but she said it was a good visit. She said she went in expecting him to be the same guy he was when he, you know, when she was young, remembering him being the same person. She said he was not the same person. She said he still had his arrogance about him, but he was calmer. I don't know what to do with that. I mean, I don't know, but that's what she said. And she said she still believed 100%, even though he's changed, that he deserved the punishment he was getting because he committed the crimes. He did the crime, you do the time. But she said she was also still mad as hell at him. But he was her father, and she did love him. And now she had her closure, and she hasn't looked back. She did say she did not stay for his execution. And, you know, I would not have been able to stay for that execution either, so I don't want to ever see anybody executed. So she didn't stay. So now we end with, the show ends with Lindsay saying that she lives in fear because of what her father did. She said she's constantly looking out the window, watching over her shoulders, waiting for something bad to happen to her and her kids. She said it's an awful way of living, and she blames her dad for that because of what he did and how she grew up. That's why she is that way. And I get it. That would be a horrible way to grow up. You know, that would be awful. But she said as awful as her childhood was, she wouldn't have her husband and kids and be where she's at today if she hadn't gone through that period of her life. I get that. I do understand that. I do. So that's how it ended. And her saying, you know, she was glad that she had her family. And I never really found out about that. And we'll talk about that here. So I'm on the internet, and the first thing I look for is Matthew Eric wrinkles. And his Wikipedia page come up. So I went there first, and I know some people don't like Wikipedia. I do, so get over it, right? But I learned a few things. And the things I learned are probably pretty simple facts that I could have got anywhere. And I did continue my search, so I didn't do, okay, Wikipedia and done. So I didn't do that. What I did find out, I will tell you in a moment. I'll be finishing this up and be right back. Okay, So we're done. But let's finish the story. So we find out that Matthew was born in 1960 and executed in 2009 at the age of 49. He was convicted of 3 counts of murder, being Deborah Jean was his wife. She was 31. Brother-in-law Tony, he was 28. And the sister-in-law Natalie was 26. That is so young to lose your life like that, trying to help a family member in need. That's just tragic. So some things that Wiki is telling us that isn't mentioned in the episode. And Eric said he blamed his actions on his addiction to meth. No mention of any kind of drug is on here, so there's that. Then we find out 2 weeks before the murders took place, Eric's mother tried to have him committed to a psychiatric facility due to his erratic behavior. But the doctors told them he didn't meet the criteria. After that, he was hospitalized at a different facility. He spent 3 days for evaluation, and the doctor told him he was not, quote, gravely disabled, and discharged him. So then we find Debbie was in the process of divorcing him when he murdered her. And so we know a couple things. We know that she's getting ready to divorce him. They're going through the proceedings. She has a protective order out. After they met with her lawyer or whatever, and I think I get more into this, but she set aside the protective order so he could see the kids and have visitation with them. So a protective order is only as good as the paper it's printed on to the person that you are giving it to, but it's only good if you keep it in, you don't cancel it or set it aside or whatever. I mean, So Debbie was supposed to meet Eric that night so they had a meeting with the lawyer to finalize the divorce. She set aside the restrictive protective order, and they were supposed to have supper, and she was going to bring the kids so he could see them, and decided that she didn't want to go. That is the night he dressed in camouflage head to toe and killed Tony, Natalie, and Debbie. Apparently he did not take too well to her deciding she didn't want to go see him. So I'm reading here that after all of Eric's appeals and motions, they were denied, he appeared as a guest on Oprah Winfrey, where he was confronted by members of his victim's family. So this would mean his in-laws. It doesn't say the children were there, it just says victims' families. So I've got to think, all his in-laws and other siblings in the family. I don't know. It doesn't tell me who or what or where was there, just that he was in there. So Eric's final statement before his execution, you go in, you can make a statement. Some people apologize, some people don't, some people whatever. Eric's was, and I quote, let's get it done. Let's lock and load. It's plagiarized, but what the hell, end quote. So arrogance is still very much. Lindsay was right. Okay, so now I'm on a website named Indy Star. So all this happened in Indianapolis. So this Indy Star is probably a local newspaper. It doesn't really say. Eric was the last inmate executed by the state of Indiana, which, okay. The article states that when Eric was fighting his sentence, he claimed he was abused by his wife and tried to make peace with her family by doing the Oprah show. So now he's saying that he was abused, which I mentioned. And I told you I thought he was abused as well. But the reason he did what he did was because she was abusive. And again, it just kind of clarifies that he did go see or did talk to his in-laws when he did the Oprah Winfrey show. But eventually he decided to die and refused to seek clemency that the governor was offering. That's an interesting statement, and I would have loved to know more, and I didn't see anything else about it. So the article then tells us what we need to know about the murders. And I'm quoting this from the article so you understand. So, a quote, authorities said Winkles was on metamethine? He was on meth. I cannot say that whole word. I didn't realize that. When he cut the phone lines, broke into his brother-in-law's Evansville home, end quote. So he was on meth when he went in and he cut phone lines. He broke into the home and killed Debbie, Tony, and Natalie. So he kicked open the door of Tony and Natalie's house at 2 a.m., armed with a knife and a gun. He shot Tony in front of his 3-year-old son. So this is the first time we hear that Tony and Natalie had a child. So Tony was trying to protect his 3-year-old son and was shot. And then he shot Debbie as Lindsay sat and watched and begged for her mother's life. And he shot Natalie as he fled the scene. So that's why she was at the door. And he fled the scene. He got in his truck and was later arrested at his cousin's home where he had the gun. He still had the gun he used in his possession. So another website that I had never used before was called Tuko, Tuko. And it was about Seth Wrinkles, the son. Apparently, Seth followed in his father's footsteps and has a pretty hefty criminal record that ended in attempted murder. He's classified as a violent felon and a habitual offender. He was born in 1986, and he had one victim that was a very scary resemblance to what happened to his mother. He shot her in the abdomen like his mother was shot. And he was only sentenced to 20 years in jail. It was only attempted murder because his victim lived. And he was only 21 when he was, when his father was executed. I'm sorry, I thought that was when he went to jail, but he was 21 when his father was executed. His sister was 28. So I mentioned before there was an age gap. There was 7 years. It's never mentioned before, but there's 7 years. So I don't know how close Lindsay and Seth would have been. If you think about it, all this happened when Lindsay was 14, Seth was 7. But it was very influential to Seth as he followed in his father's footsteps. So and learning that he followed in his father's footsteps is extremely sad. I always hope that when I do these episodes and there's children, that they can rise above what was done to them or how it was done or any of that. In this case, he didn't. And is paying the price for it. Now, Lindsay, on the other hand, she did. She's married, she has children, and has moved on with her life. But Seth did not. So, learning about Seth, I decided to end my research. That was just very heavy and disturbing to me, so I just decided I didn't want to go any further. But saying that, I didn't look into Lindsay's current life. She's been through hell. She's had enough. I know she's married. She's got kids, and that's all I found out. That's all I looked for. She deserves her privacy. And I mean, especially living with the legacy of her father, but knowing that her brother attempted to recreate his father's murder and follow in his footsteps, and apparently is also a heavy drug user, and his dad was a drug user. I mean, the similarities are very, very sad. So Lindsay deserves her peace, and I am, for one, not going to disturb that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I was fine with the episode. I mean, yeah, it wasn't a good story. The dad was an awful person, but the research really upset me more than the story. Just learning that Seth couldn't break the chains of what he grew up in. Okay, so if you like this episode, please like and share if you think others will. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you continue to watch. I hope you've seen the other episodes I've done. If not, please go check them out. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the subscribe button to keep up with what I'm doing, because I think I'm going to start a new series as well, and I just got to get to researching on it. So until then, be safe, be good, goodbye.